For years, Kampala had one transport problem: chaos. Taxis everywhere, no fixed routes, no schedule, no order. Then in the mid-2000s, the government and a group of politically connected businessmen, they came up with a solution: modern city buses. And that project, it became Pioneer Easy Bus Limited. The company was officially incorporated on March 1st, 2005 in Uganda. And the people behind it were not small players. The chairman was Matthew Rukikaire, a former privatization minister and historical member of the National Resistance Movement. At the beginning, the board included several powerful figures: former Prime Minister Apollo Kintu Musoke, former Deputy Prime Minister Eric Adriko, a banker Faisal Kasuja, a businessman Fred Senoga, a real estate developer Dr. Muhammad Kasaja, and a businesswoman Ida Wanendea. So you can see this was not a small transport startup. This was a project backed by political weight and serious money. In 2006, the project was officially launched at Sheraton Gardens, Kampala. The total budget announced at the time was $35 million. Now the promise was simple: modern buses, affordable transport, and an organized commuter system for Kampala. To make the project work, the Ugandan investors partnered with a Zimbabwean transport company. That company was Pioneer Motor Corporation. It was run by brothers Hamish Radland and Simon Radland. Their larger company, Pioneer Corporation Africa, it was listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. They were already operating buses across Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Botswana. So the Ugandan project, it was supposed to combine local political backing with international transport experience. The goal was just to bring a modern transport system in Kampala. At the time, the managing director of EasyBus Uganda, Fred Senoga, he even talked about listing the company on the Uganda Stock Exchange in the future. Everything looked ambitious. Everything looked very serious. But the road ahead was going to be much harder than anyone expected. For several years, the project moved slowly. Then around 2012, Kampala finally saw the buses. More than 100 buses were imported from China. They were built by Yutong, one of the largest bus manufacturers in the world. Each bus carried 61 passengers. And these buses looked very different from the taxis people were used to. They had automatic doors, fixed routes, fixed fares, and designated stops. The buses officially hit the streets in March 2012. And the timing was perfect. At one point during a taxi strike, the Pioneer buses helped transport stranded commuters. Suddenly, Kampala looked like it was about to modernize its transport system. The plan was even bigger. The contract with Kampala Capital City Authority, it envisioned expanding the fleet to 522 buses over time. But there was one big condition: the buses needed dedicated lanes to work properly. And that is where the problem started. The buses mainly operated within Kampala and surrounding areas. Some of the main routes included Kampala to Kireka, to Banda, to Kiambogo, to Nakawa, to Bweyogerere. Then we also had Kampala to Luzira, to Kitintale, to Bugolobi. Then we also had Kampala to Kijansi, and also Kampala to Namugongo. The company employed around 150 staff members. Each bus, it was expected to make 3 trips per day. But according to the company's information systems analyst and public relations officer, James Kasita, the buses could easily have made 5 trips daily if they had proper bus lanes. And the numbers looked promising. If one bus carried 61 passengers per trip, the revenue projections looked like this. That's about 360,000 per day per bus, about 9.3 million per month, about 112 million per year per bus. For a fleet of 100 buses, that meant more than 11 billion shillings annually. On paper, the business looked solid, but the reality was different. Taxi operators quickly matched the same fares, and without dedicated lanes, buses got stuck in the same traffic as everyone else. The business model, it started cracking almost immediately. Just 1 year after launch, disaster hit. In February 2013, the Uganda Revenue Authority impounded the entire fleet, all 100 buses. The reason? Unpaid taxes. The amount owed was about 8 billion shillings. These taxes included custom duties, excise duties, import duties, and interest penalties. Now, the buses had been imported in 2012. URA said that the company had not fulfilled its tax obligations. By May 2013, URA was already threatening to auction 99 buses. Negotiations followed. Eventually, a payment plan was agreed. The company would pay about 270 to 300 million shillings per month for 24 months. Uganda Revenue Authority even waived part of the interest. But the damage was already done. The buses had stopped running, and the commuters were going back to the taxis. Around the same time, another controversy emerged. Some members of the KCCA Council, they claimed that they had never approved the contract with Pioneer. They said that the deal had been signed without proper consultation. That sparked a political debate. And suddenly, the buses were no longer just a transport project because now they were becoming a political issue. At the same time, the company faced another problem. 3 football clubs sued Pioneer Easy Bus. The clubs said that the company owed them about 240 million shillings in unpaid sponsorship money. So in less than 2 years, Pioneer had tax disputes, political disputes, and legal disputes. And that was only the beginning. By 2014, more financial problems were surfacing. A businessman named Charles Mushabe, he had supplied spare parts to the company, but he said that he had never been paid. The Nakawa court ruled that Pioneer Easy Bus, it had to pay him about 141 to 152 million shillings. The case was enforced by lawyers from Lex Uganda advocates and solicitors. The company still failed to pay. So in May 2017, the High Court Execution Division stepped in. Auctioneers, and they were from Libra Auctioneers, they seized 16 buses from City Square, Kampala. Then they were driven to Nansana for auction. At that point, the collapse was becoming obvious. Over time, many buses ended up parked near Mandela National Stadium, commonly known as Nambole. For years, commuters would see them there, dozens of buses. And they were just parked, some without wheels and some stripped for spare parts. Mechanics tried repairing them, but many never returned to the road. Nambole slowly turned into a graveyard for buses that was supposed to transform Kampala. The company tried several times to restart operations. In 2015, there was a brief return to the road. The KCCA Twitter account even encouraged commuters to catch a Pioneer, but the comeback was short-lived. More attempts were made around 2020 and 2021 during the COVID-19 recovery period. The company even announced plans to sanitize buses and resume operations. Legal advisor Esther Kemigisha, she spoke about plans to restart by April 2021, but the revival never really happened. Too many buses were damaged, too many deaths remained, and too much time had passed. By 2016, most Pioneer buses, they were off the road, and by 2026, the company is effectively defunct. The buses were eventually removed from the Nambole area after investigations involving Anita Among, the Speaker of Parliament. Authorities also cited outstanding arrears of about 157 million shillings. Some buses were scrapped, some were sold, and some simply disappeared. The project that once promised to modernize Kampala transport, it quietly faded away. Today, the government is trying again. A new project called Tondeka Metro Company, it's supposed to build a large modern bus network. The plan includes 1,030 buses initially, eventually expanding to 3,000 buses. Some of the buses are expected to be electric, produced by Kira Motors Corporation. The goal is to finally introduce organized mass transport for about 1.5 million commuters in Greater Kampala. But the rollout has been slow. Taxi operators have resisted the changes, and dedicated bus lanes still do not exist, which means Kampala's transport problem is still far from being solved.